Battle Chef Brigade is an odd combination of a food competition game with an action platformer and a puzzle game. As someone that grew up watching a bunch of Food Network shows like Iron Chef America, Chomped, and Cutthroat Kitchen, this totally sounds up my alley. Let's see if this combination of flavor creates a great game or an experimental mess. I was very taken back by just how narrative driven this game was, and I was totally behind it from the get-go. You play as Mina, a cute spunky teen who looks like she might be related to Opal from The Legend of Korra. She's a girl who's stuck cooking food at her family restaurant, but dreams of a life much better than this. In this world, human civilization is constantly being attacked by vicious monsters, and so humanity took matters into its own hands. They started to hunt down these creatures and ended up turning the remains of them into delicious meals. It's a totally bizarre story, but I really like it. One day, Mina decides to run away from home in order to compete in the Battle Chef Brigade, the Iron Chef America of this world where participants go hunting monsters for ingredients and then come back and create delicious meals for the judges. It's like the chef/military of this game. Throughout your adventure, you'll make groups of friends and some rivals as you compete to hunt down monsters and create scrumptious masterpieces in the process. The story is told through in-game dialogue scenes that have characters conversing and progressing the story. The narrative can be a bit elaborate at times, especially if you compare the story to the gameplay, which is much more simple in design. Regardless, the story alone definitely kept me captivated throughout the 6 chapters of the game that took about 11 hours to complete. Battle Chef Brigade is definitely a unique game when it comes to its gameplay. The gameplay can be broken down into part action platformer, part puzzle game with a dash of visual novel. As the game opens up, you're introduced to the dialogue sections that are the vital sections of the game that progresses the story. I'll dip down into the performances a bit later in this review. The real meat and potatoes of this game is the puzzle and action platformer gameplay. The action platformer section will have you go into little closed off areas in the wild filled with monsters. Here Mina will fight off monsters with a variety of attacks and magic. It sort of reminds me of the combat of Guacamelee, at least the physical attacks do. Mina is equipped with knives and daggers that can slash through anything. There's a variety of skills too, like being able to throw knives, summon a tornado with wind magic, and swiftly backstab monsters in a teleportation move. Mina isn't just a cute chef, she's a skilled hunter. These monsters are no small feat either. Yes, they can range from smaller creatures like a rat or a plant that can eat meat or seeds on a bush, but you can also come across giant boars or a dragon. The variety of monsters is a wide spectrum. Likewise, their arsenal of weapons and skills also has a wide spectrum. While Mina has her go-to default moves, there's also some RPG elements in her combat. Mina has skill slots that can improve her combat and cooking. As for combat specifically, you can equip items that boost or buff her attacks in combat. For example, there's an item that increases her health or her mana being the magic points used to perform magic attacks. There's even modifiers for attacks like being able to light monsters on fire with your dagger or hitting an enemy when you perform a dodge near them. You can earn these skills or buff items by competing in cooking competitions and winning. The second half of the gameplay has you participate in cook-offs. So during a cook-off competition, you'll get a set timer to perform your hunts and gather ingredients for your meal. Monsters drop ingredients with different element qualities attached to them like water, earth, and fire. Usually in a competition, the judge will ask for a specific animal to be used in the meal along with the preference for the type of food they want. So if a judge wants to eat dragon with a focus on an earthy taste, then it's up to you to go hunt down a dragon and create a meal with mostly the green element ingredients. The actual process of cooking in this game is very much like a game of Bejeweled. Your ingredients have different elements to them that almost look like Puyo Puyo pieces. You drop them down into a grid where once you start to cook them, you can rotate the pieces to match 3 of a color. The ingredients can be leveled up every time you match 3 of a kind to better increase the flavor and raise the star level of your dish. The process of cooking is relatively simple and easy to get used to. Just like in the combat sections, you can equip skills that help you out in the cooking process. Different pottery, for example, can boost a certain type of element food, like letting you only need 2 of a kind to match an ingredient rather than 3. At the end of the competition, the winner is decided by whoever has the highest star level of their meal. It's usually decided by how well you performed in terms of the requirements of the judge. In the first moments of the gameplay, it's really fun. It really didn't take that long to get into the action, and the quick-paced challenge gameplay of cook-offs was really enjoyable. However, it does get a bit repetitive over the 10 to 13 hours of gameplay. You start to fall into a pattern of waking up, going to do jobs for some cash in town that act as practice or training for your cooking, and then use that cash to purchase equipable items and then challenge a chef in town to a cook-off. The overarching story adds some incentive to keep playing, and it honestly is a pretty big story for the gameplay that the game brings. It isn't a bad thing, I just wish a bit more variety in the gameplay was there to match the caliber of the story. Outside of the main story, you can perform challenges from the main menu, like a Break the Targets mode ripped out of Smash Bros, and a daily challenge cook-off that uploads your score to the online leaderboard. They're nice padding to the game, but they don't really add the level of variety I think this game needs. What's rather surprising is that there isn't any online or local versus mode. This title is on Switch and PC, and especially with it being on Switch, I would have thought or expected it to have some sort of local multiplayer mode with the gameplay like this. It seems like a perfect fit for the game, especially with the cook-off gameplay. Holy crap, this is one pretty game. Battleship Brigade features some hand-drawn animation that looks like it's ripped out of an older Hayao Miyazaki film. Actually, it's more on par with something like the Digimon movie or Summer Wars. It's a lovely art style that adds personality to the cute spunky nature of Mina. I played mostly on PC during my review and the game ran at a solid 60 FPS, 1080p. The odd thing is that there seems to be some sort of hiccups in the frame pacing at times that would make the game look like it slowed down despite it running at a solid 60 frames per second according to my frame rate counter. Outside of that minor hiccup though, Battleship Brigade is a satisfying visual display whether you're playing it on the PC or on the Switch. Let me just start off by saying a big shout out to the voice acting in this game because dang did they do a great job at it. The game is a cooking puzzle game, and despite it not having the most crazy gameplay, its story and actors' performances really sell the experience. Even if I found the gameplay to be a bit repetitive a few hours into the game, I felt obliged to keep playing to see how the story and its characters panned out. And that was definitely part in thanks to the actors' performances. The music is upbeat overall. When you're hunting down animals, it gives a nice sense of adventure, and while you're inside of a building or at home, it sort of gives off Fire Emblem vibes. It's really charming. Battleship Brigade has a very engaging story with lovable characters and gameplay that's entertaining, though it needs to be fleshed out a bit more throughout its 10 to 13 hour campaign. It's an enjoyable game, don't get me wrong, but you definitely hit that wall of repetition midway through the game. I wish the game features some sort of versus multiplayer because I feel like the lack of gameplay variety in the single player mode could have been remedied with an addictive local multiplayer mode. Even with the repetition though, I was pretty hooked on the game's story and characters to not mind it as much. The game goes for $20 on Steam and the Nintendo eShop, and at that price point, I'm leaning towards recommending it, or at least saying to try it out once it goes down $2 to $5. That does it for my review of Battleship Brigade for the Nintendo Switch and PC. Let me know if you have any questions about the game that I may have missed in this review in the comment section down below. If you enjoy these in-depth reviews, let me know by hitting that like button, and let me know in the comments down below if there are any games coming out in the next month that you'd like to see reviewed, and I'll do my best to cover the game. If you're watching this and you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, and if you're not celebrating it, I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.